Hi, my name is Sam Porter. This is speech number 3 for Comm 235, Intro to Argumentation and Debate. This speech may or may not reflect my actual opinion. Capital punishment should be abolished in the United States. So first, what is capital punishment? Capital punishment refers to the death penalty for serious crimes. Methods used for this punishment include beheading, hanging, lethal injection, and shooting throughout history. According to justice.gov, the crimes that could lead to the death penalty in the United States are called capital offenses. These include murder, treason, genocide, or even the killing or kidnapping of a congressman, president, or a Supreme Court justice. According to deathpenaltyinfo.org, the most common method for the death penalty in the United States is lethal injection, but methods of electrocution, lethal gas, and even a firing squad are also used. The United States federal government and 27 out of the U.S. states permit capital punishment. This is unacceptable and it needs to be abolished now. Capital punishment is biased against people experiencing poverty. 95% of prisoners on death row in the U.S. come from unprivileged backgrounds because of the high cost of things like education, mental health treatment, and substance abuse treatment can push them into crime. Then it costs money for good lawyers and for certain actions to happen in the criminal justice system. This shows how unfair the system is and that it needs to change. One of the biggest reasons why capital punishment should be abolished is that it is irreversible. Once the government decides that someone should be put to death and they're killed, then there's no going back. They can't come back. There have been several cases where someone is put to death and then found innocent after the fact. This is not okay, and it just shows that they were killed for no reason. One recent example is a man named Marcellus Williams was executed in September of this year. He was convicted of the murder of a woman named Felicia Gale in 1998 in Missouri. There was no reliable evidence proving that he murdered this woman, but he was executed anyway. The execution still took place even though Williams fought for his innocence and others in his community and across the country were trying to prevent it from happening. Racial bias contributed to his wrongful conviction as well, since he was a black man, and the jury for this case was all white people except for one person who was also black. It is wrong for the government to have the power to kill someone, especially when they are not positive that this person on trial actually committed this crime. Racial bias is a big part of the death penalty as well. According to aclu.org, more than half of the people on death row are black. Black offenders who kill white victims are at a greater risk of the death penalty than white offenders that kill black victims, black offenders that kill black victims, and white offenders that kill white victims. So just when it's a black offender who killed a white person, they're at the most risk of getting the death penalty. And this just shows that the system is racist and not fair. So the opposing side of this argument may argue that the death penalty is actually a good thing because it prevents crime. While you would think this would be true and make sense, it's actually not. The death penalty doesn't actually deter crime. In an analysis done in the year 2020, it showed that 9 out of 10 states with the highest pandemic murder rates were states with the death penalty, while 8 out of the 10 states with the lowest pandemic murder rates had abolished the death penalty. So this just shows that the penalty of death doesn't actually change people's minds about whether they're going to commit a crime or not. So what is the point in having that punishment in the first place? Also, some people on the opposing side may argue that the punishment is not too cruel and it's an eye for an eye type of punishment. While I see where people come from with this thought process, the death penalty is way too cruel, and jail time seems more like a reasonable punishment. If the criminal is put to death, it is almost like they got away with it, because they don't have to deal with the consequences and deal with thinking about that. On the other hand, being held in jail for their life seems more appropriate, where they have to think about what they have done. And then if they are put in jail and then found innocent later, then they are able to leave the jail and live on with their lives. When if they were put to death, then they wouldn't be able to do that. Another good point to mention is the cost of the death penalty. A website called Equal Justice USA states more than a dozen states have found that the death penalty cases are up to 10 times more expensive than comparable non-death penalty cases. These cases cost way more because of more lawyers, witnesses, experts, and other people needed, as well as a longer jury selection process and other expenses. Death penalty cases also take way longer, where the judges, clerks, prosecutors, and other agencies and people involved spent several more hours working when they could have been working on other cases. So as you can see, capital punishment is too cruel of a punishment. It doesn't actually deter crime. There have been several cases where someone is put to death when they are innocent, and there are a few biases that I mentioned associated with the death penalty that makes it an unfair system. So capital punishment should be abolished in the United States. Thank you.